We have the AFC West, and in last place, I have the Denver Broncos going 14th place in their conference. Not very good at all. Who's your last place?
The Broncos.
Okay, and do you have them going similar 4-13 or worse?
Worse.
Yeah, didn't you say it's 2 wins? Is that what you said? Oh man. Okay, let's.
Who did I have them beating?
Yeah, I want to know who you.
The Colts. In week 15 because of Anthony Richardson's injury. It just keeps happening to that poor guy, this poor team. The Colts are going to suck towards the end of the season because Richardson will be hurt again is basically my suspicion here.
I have them beating. So I have them beating
division games, right?
They go 1-5 in their division.
Yeah, I had them 0-6.
Yeah, so the one division game that they actually pick up
against the fucking Chargers, probably.
Nope, it was week 18 against the Chiefs. The Chiefs said all their starters because they
honestly, I'm gonna switch that. You're 100% right. They're gonna have everything locked up, and the Broncos are gonna want to beat the Chiefs. Yep. So I'm actually live changing that 2-15.
I also have them beating week 2 the Steelers at home.
Okay.
Yep. And then I also have them beating the New Orleans Saints week 7.
You know, the New Orleans Saints are like the trendy bet right now in Vegas to make the playoffs.
I keep hearing about that.
And my whole thing is like, they're going to win the division because they're not getting in as a wild card. Like,
spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but spoiler alert for next week, I have the Saints going last place in their division.
Yes, spoiler alert, I have the wild card team in the NFC with 10 wins. Saints ain't winning 10 games. So
my wild card seed has 11 wins.
Nah, I can't. I'm gonna have to redo this because my 5th seed has more wins than my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th seed, and I don't really like that. Although, just for parity, I hope it happens so everyone can complain. But
yeah, I have my let's see, where is it? I have my 4th through 7th seed all going 11-6. My 1, 2, and 3 all have different records in the NFC. But yeah, back to the Broncos again. I have them beating the Saints, and then remember I told you I have a couple throwaway games, and I threw in there, and this is one of them. Week 11 against the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it too.
I'm not splitting hairs on trying to argue whether they win 2 games or 4 games here.
Especially when you're talking about the opponents being people like the Steelers and the Saints. So I'm not really going to throw it away either. Who's your 3rd place? I think we have the same exact placement again.
Yeah, I got the Raiders. How many wins you got for the Raiders?
I have them going 6-11. Were you nicer than I was?
I fucking forgot to click something again. I have the Raiders going 6-11.
Okay, perfect. There we go. All right, so let's run down it. Go ahead. You start off.
These poor Raiders, they go 3-3 in the division, and they only win 6 games.
I actually have them going 4-12 in the division and winning 6 games.
Okay, week 1, I gave it to the Chargers. You probably disagree.
Nope, I agree.
Week 2, the Ravens. Week 3, the Raiders knock off the Panthers for their first win.
I disagree.
And then they beat the Broncos. I'm sorry, the Broncos win.
Yep.
And Broncos then the Raiders, the Browns. Jeez. Let me start this over. Chargers win week 1. Yep. Ravens win week 2.
Correct.
I got the Raiders beating the Panthers in week 3. You disagree.
Correct.
I got the Browns beating the Raiders in week 4.
Absolutely.
Then I got the Raiders beating the Broncos in week 5.
I have that as well.
Raiders come back with back-to-back wins here and knock off the Steelers.
Agreed.
Then they lose to LA.
Correct.
And then they come out and do their Raider thing and they beat the Chiefs because they beat the Chiefs every year.
Yep, agreed.
Then they lose to the Bengals.
Yep.
They lose to the Dolphins.
Yep.
They beat the Broncos again.
Yep.
And then they don't win another game until week 17 when they beat the Saints. They do that Raider thing where they just they're there. They're like 7-7, 6-8. Oh, if they could just string something together, they'll make the playoffs. We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. And then I have to tell the Raiders fans, shut the hell up. Get out of my office. Go sell a car. You're not going to the Super Bowl. And then they beat the Saints in week 17.
Yeah, Saints week 17. I also have them beating the Chargers week 18. Yeah. So we're not that. So we have 6-11. We're a little bit different on the divisions, but pretty close to about the same right there. Absolutely. Sweet. Okay. 12th place overall in the conference, and in second place is the Chargers. I'm curious to see what the records are. I have them having a positive record at 9-8, which I didn't think they were going to have a positive record.
This is very exciting for me because we're going to be arguing about the Bills and the Chargers all year. I'm very excited. I got the Chargers.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Grabbing the 9th seed overall in the conference.
Yeah, I got them at 6th.
Okay, and making the playoffs. So the biggest difference here is you have the Chargers making the playoffs, not the Browns. Yep. That's our biggest difference here in the entire AFC. Outside of that, it's little.
Who's got the better quarterback? I'll just go with that.
Yeah, Justin Herbert. Yeah.
Their head coaches are actually, in my opinion, pretty similar. Yeah. Stefanski's probably a top 10, top 12 head coach in the league right now. It's just their quarterback is hella suspicious.
Yep.
And I heard he sprained his ankle, so he's out the next 2 seasons.
So what was the record for the Chargers that you had them going?
12-5.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So I guess it's easier for. I have them going 9-8, so it's a much different split. Win week 1 against the Raiders.
Yep.
A win in week 2 and 3.
Yep.
A loss in week 4.
Yep.
Okay, so we're the same up until the bye week at least. Now they have a win in week 6.
Yep.
A loss in week 7.
You said you like the Cardinals. I disagree.
A win in week 8.
Yep.
Loss in week 9.
Yep.
A win in week 10.
Yep.
Loss in week 11.
Yep.
Loss in week 12.
Yep.
A loss in week 13. I think this is where we're different.
See, I have them beating the Falcons here, and the thing about it is I believe in them as a team, and at some point they're going to have that win that says they're either about it or they're not about it.
Yeah.
And the Falcons at this point are cruising in their division. Their division is already wrapped up by week 13. I think almost to the point where we're almost talking about is Penix playing in a quarter or 2 at this point, things like that, keep Kirk healthy. We're not handing the ball off to Bijan a million times anymore. And so I really just thought because of where the Falcons are going to be, they may be able to steal this game because the Falcons aren't going to be in contention for the division. I'm sorry, the conference. So at this point, it really doesn't matter much. So I had them beating the Falcons here. So that's one win that we differ on.
Kansas City beating them in week 14.
Yep.
Wins in week 15 and 16.
Yep.
A win in week 17 as well.
Yep.
And then a loss in 18.
Yeah, so I have them beating the Raiders, the Falcons, and the Cardinals. That's the difference between us. And if I said to you right now, can the Chargers beat the Cardinals? You'd say yes. Yep. I'd say to you right now, can the Chargers beat the Raiders? You would say yes. So really it just comes down to that Falcons game, which if they're both full strength, I'm picking the Falcons I don't think at that point the Falcons are going to have to worry about it too much.
It's one of those things, especially with this team. It's like almost like what we talked about with the Broncos, with like the couple of wins that they had that I had over you. It's like I'm not going to argue with those handful of teams where you could swing the bat either way and it might land in either one of the zones. But the big difference for us is once again the Chargers make the playoffs in your scenario. For mine, they missed the playoffs, which means the number one in the division, for me, the number one in the conference is the Kansas City Chiefs. I have them going 13-4. And where do you have the Chiefs? The Chiefs going
15-2.
Okay, I was going to say 16-1. Is that where we're? So the 2 losses are where?
Week 18 against the Broncos and that Raider game that they lose every year.
Okay, and then so the additional games is the ones we've already talked about. The Bengals in week 2 is the other one, and also the Niners in week 7. So honestly, that's another one of those 2 games to me where you could talk about those swinging either way.
The Chiefs are coming off their bye, and then they play us.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Every year, I swear, every year.
You play a tough team like that, they're coming off of a bye, and
we come off of our bye, and we have to go to fucking Florida and play Tampa Bay. This is bullshit. Why can't we get a home game after our bye?
Yep, absolutely. I agree. I feel like this last division was pretty easy because there was a couple of teams swing one way or another. But once again, same placements for both of us. 4th place, Denver. 3rd place, Raiders. 2nd place, Chargers. Making the playoffs for you, missing the playoffs for me. And in 1st place in the conference and in the division is the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Next week, we're going to talk about the NFC, which I'm very excited to talk about. When we're looking, let's see at that. Just real quick, looking at how I have it set up right now, my wild card rounds look like this. It looks like the Chiefs obviously getting the week 1 bye. Then it's Cincinnati going to Miami. It's Cleveland going to Houston in a rematch. And then it's New York going to Baltimore. That's my wild card matchups for the AFC.
And your picks for that would be?
Man, that's hard. I would go Houston at home. That's the easy one. The other 2 are really difficult. Miami's at home, but it's hard to bet against Joe Burrow and the Bengals in this situation, especially with the division and who they play the entire year.
And home field advantage in Miami in the playoffs really doesn't give you much.
I'd probably go Cincinnati with the away, and this is another one where I hate it because I love them, but I probably would go New York away, winning against Lamar and Baltimore at home, because that defense is so goddamn good, and Lamar can't really be trusted in the playoffs at this point.
You know who can be?
Joe Burrow.
Josh fucking Allen. So in my situations here, I got the 7th seed going to Baltimore. I got the 7th seed Bills going to Baltimore, knocking them off, because if there's one thing we could count on, it's the Ravens losing in the playoffs.
Yep.
I got the Chargers going to New York and losing to Aaron Rodgers. And then I have the Texans knocking off the Bengals.
Okay.
So, which is very exciting because that's going to set up Aaron Rodgers versus CJ Stroud, and that would set up the Bills versus the Chiefs. And let's be honest, even though you're a fucking hater and you think the Bills are going to suck this year, who doesn't want to see Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs?
Yep. No, absolutely. I'm definitely not going to disagree with you there. But yeah, that's it. So looking at next week, we're going to be going over the NFC, which I think is going to be just as wildly entertaining to see